I'm here with Kevin Kiley, who will be talking about what it's like being a lawyer. How are you today, Kevin?
Hey Zach, how are you?
Good. How long have you been a lawyer?
I've been a lawyer since 1994, so I guess that would be almost 20 years.
What kind of lawyer are you?
I'm a civil litigator, so what that means is that basically what I do is all court-related type work, and that's why it's obviously called litigation. And why I say civil litigation is that I don't really do much, if any, criminal type litigation. So the type of litigation I would do would be primarily between companies or businesses or perhaps people.
What made you want to become a lawyer?
I always wanted to be a lawyer since I was quite young. Probably because I like to debate, and growing up, I think when I thought of a lawyer, I thought of it as someone who goes to court. Now that I practice law, I know that half the lawyers, that's not what they do. But that's probably when I was growing up when I identified as a lawyer. Because I was someone who liked to debate and perhaps argue, it seemed like something that would be interesting.
So what made you want to become that type of lawyer?
Again, probably just largely because of my kind of personal interest in the sense that I do like to debate and perhaps argue a bit. So that probably gave me a predisposition to thinking that I'd want to be a litigator or be someone who does court-related law. Having said that, when you first come out of law school and you do some training, when you first start to work in a law firm, you do a little bit of everything. And so for some people, when they do that, they come to find that what they thought they wanted to do is what they wanted to do, but other people find that there's other areas of law and that perhaps what they started off thinking they wanted to focus on or specialize in, their thoughts might change. For me, it was more of a confirmation that that was the type of thing I wanted to do.
So you weren't exactly sure until you finished law school?
I wasn't sure. Like I said, I think I had a predisposition. I think I was pretty certain that I wanted to do litigation primarily. And then when I got out and got some training and worked in a law firm and did things that were litigation related, but also things that weren't litigation related, I enjoyed most of all those things, but it kind of confirmed for me that that was probably my area of most interest.
What was school like in order to become a lawyer?
Well, in order to become a lawyer, you need to first of all get an undergraduate degree. So you could get a Bachelor of Arts or Business Administration or Science or whatever the case may be. I went and got a Bachelor of Arts degree. So you have to get a first degree in order to be able to apply to go to law school. So then after that, I went to law school. Law school is a 3-year program. So after 3 years, you have your law degree. But then in order to practice, you need to go through a particular province that you want to practice in, and you need to do what they call article. And basically that's basically like being an apprentice. So for a year you're in training, you do law-related work with other lawyers, and you over the course of the year take on more and more responsibility. But you would never be kind of the lead lawyer, so to speak, because you aren't licensed yet. Once that 1-year process is over and you write some tests and whatnot, then you're licensed and you're good to go. And that's basically the process of trying to become a lawyer.
So how many years exactly would it be before you actually started practicing law? So
it would mean you do your undergrad degree, assuming it's possible to apply to law school before you complete your undergraduate degree, but it's not common. So if you take the kind of what's the norm, you do 4 years for your undergraduate degree, another 3 years for your law degree, and then another year of training to become licensed. So there's 8 years over and above high school and everything before that.
So what types of courses did you learn in law school?
Basically, law school is pretty. When you're in law school, you take basically courses kind of all across the spectrum. There's certainly some opportunity to specialize in certain type of courses, but kind of as a starting point, they make sure that you get kind of a general taste of all the different law courses, whether or not it be property law or contracts or torts. And torts is where you basically sue people for things they've done to you. Family law, whatever. So you kind of get that general background, and then as you go through law school, you get the opportunity to start to pick some of more of your courses. And I tended to focus on things that were more litigation-based, and also things that tended to be a little bit more business-based. And now, in my practice, most of my litigation is business-type litigation.
Was it easy to find a job once you left law school?
Yeah, it wasn't overly difficult. Basically, When I was going through law school, the process then was basically law firms would come and article students in their second year of law school. So you're basically halfway through, Christmas of your second year. So basically you'd be halfway through your law degree, and they'd come and they'd interview students, and what they'd be interviewing you for would be to kind of sign you up so that when you do graduate from law school, you go to their law firm and do your articles with them, so get licensed with their law firm. And when they hired you on that basis, you'd sometimes have the opportunity to work in the summertime between school. So that was kind of the norm then. Now it's changed as years have gone on. I'm involved in recruiting for our law firm, and now we're interviewing students in their first year. So it's kind of moved even earlier. And as far as finding a job, I think when I was going through law school, when people graduate from law school, most people had a job. And I think that's probably still the case now. I expect it's probably a little bit more competitive now than perhaps when I was going through.
You said you recruit now. What type of stuff do you look for in a young lawyer?
Marks, I suppose, are always an important qualification. Having said that, most people who have been accepted to law school probably had good marks going into law school. So it's probably not. It's probably pretty common that most people you're interviewing have relatively good marks. But marks are important. I think the most important thing is just more communication and common sense. Just the ability to take a problem and just kind of figure out a way to solve it, and perhaps more importantly, know how to deal with people. You can read all the books that you want, and you can be as intelligent as you need to be, but if you can't communicate with people, or you can't kind of interact and get to the bottom of what the real issue is, then it doesn't get you very far. So basically, when we're interviewing at law schools, we only have 20-minute interviews, so it's not a lot of time to find out a lot of information. We have their resume, we have their marks, but I think a large part of it is just kind of testing them to kind of get a feel as to, if they were in a law firm, would clients be able to interact with them? Would they be able to be a lawyer, so to speak?
So people skills are a big thing.
Very important.
On a typical day, what type of stuff would you normally do?
Well, I guess there's probably not always a typical day, but, and every lawyer would be different, largely because people have different types of practice areas, different types of clients. For me, a common day is coming into the office and, if I'm organized, which you try and be, try and have a sense that, listen, here are the 2 or 3 projects I'm going to try and work on today, and this is what I'm going to try and accomplish. And kind of start the day on that basis. The reality is that we're in the world of instant communication, so people are obviously calling you all the time, but emails are, I get hundreds of emails a day, and people are emailing you, clients are emailing you on a regular basis throughout the day, and they always assume that you've read it when they sent it, and they're always, of course, because communication is so instant, they're looking for an instant response, which you can't always give. So basically trying to set out some goals for the day and some projects, and just interacting with clients. But again, a lot of the times that type of interaction is online.
So multitasking and organization are big.
Multitasking and organization are important, and we can all improve, and I myself continue to strive to get better at it, because the more efficient you can be, the easier the workday is.
Is there any particular skill set that helps you on a daily basis?
I think probably being able to problem solve and prioritize. There's most people I think who practice law have a lot of work, a lot of different files that have different requirements, both as far as what you have to do in relation to a particular file, but also as far as the time requirements. Some need to be responded to in a different time basis than others. And it's more a matter of being organized, I suppose, and being able to prioritize and kind of problem solve and say, listen, this is what I have to focus on, and this is what I have to do to get this done. And also be able to be flexible, because things will change at a moment's notice. And maybe you said these are the 2 or 3 things I'm going to try and get done on Tuesday. And then Tuesday comes and you get an urgent phone call from another client that says, here's an issue that's arisen that we have to deal with today. So all of a sudden now you got to obviously put one aside and find a way to get this one dealt with that needs to get dealt with. But at the same point in time, these other 2 or 3 problems that you were supposed to get done that day haven't gone anywhere. So you have to find a way to prioritize and make sure that you can try to keep everyone happy and meet their needs.
So how much paperwork do you have to do as opposed to actually spending time with your clients?
I guess a lot of paperwork. A lot of this, paperwork, I guess, can be misleading too, because a lot of times they say with emails and whatnot, it's not actual paper. But the reality is that again, it goes to the nature of practice. I might go a whole week and not have a client come to see me. Is in person. In fact, I might go for longer stretches where I don't meet with a client in person. Having said that, they're emailing me throughout the day, or they're calling me throughout the day, and so you're kind of having that constant interaction. Other lawyers, depending on your practice, for example, if you're someone who has a type of practice that is what I would call solicitor type practice, which means you don't go to court. Maybe you do. If you're someone who do a lot of residential transactions, so people buying and selling homes, or you're someone who does a lot of wills for people. Well, those people come to see you. You have to sit down with them and take their will instructions. You have to sit down with them and find out what it is the house they want to buy, and look over the documentation and sign things up in order to get it done. So, if you're a lawyer that's kind of more solicitor based, than say I am, you'd be meeting with clients throughout the day, and the waiting room out here would be full of your clients. The waiting room out here is seldom full of my clients.
So does most of your work take place in the office, or do you get to spend some time in the courtroom?
It's definitely spend some time in the courtroom. As a litigator, what kind of, at least my experience is that as you progress or you get more experienced, your cases tend to get more complex. And what complex often means is more voluminous or more document oriented. So you may have a piece of litigation that has 1,000 documents that goes with it. So as a result, litigations become much more complex, and as a result of that, you may have a file that you might not get to court in that particular file for 2 years. Whereas when you first start out as a litigator, at least my experience is that you might be doing things that are not as complex and smaller, and you may be in court, a few times every week. So now I have, I do more litigation than I would have done when I was younger. I have more cases, but I probably get to court less. But now when you get to court, the stakes typically are a little bit higher and the issues are a little bit more important. What's
it like in the courtroom for a litigator?
I think I guess probably maybe different for everyone. I guess for myself, I like going to court. I enjoy it. It's probably not unlike being an athlete from the perspective that you're probably got the jitters a little bit and you're nervous before you get there. But once you get there, usually those jitters go away and you kind of click into a mode because you're trained to do this type of work, or you're trained to go play soccer or hockey, whatever the case may be. So that perhaps the butterflies that you had walking down to the courtroom or walking into a rink, by the time you hit the ice or you hit in the courtroom, they've dissipated, and you might still be a little bit on edge, but for the most part, they've dissipated. And you're now in your kind of, in my case, courtroom mode, so you're there, and there's a lot of preparation that goes into going to court. When you go to court, there's usually lots of documents at play, and there's lots of legal written argument that's been produced in advance. And so basically, you've done a lot of your work before you get to court, and you've kind of had your roadmap or your script, so to speak. And so it's a matter of trying to be organized, trying to get your point across, and there's a certain level of performing as well, I suppose.
Have you ever had to deal with a client that was guilty or wrong?
Yes. As I said, I don't do much criminal, but I certainly have done criminal law over the years, and I still do some from time to time. And certainly, yes, I've had clients who were guilty, were found to be guilty, and in some cases, people who've told you that they've committed the particular offense for which they're charged. Sometimes people are found guilty through a trial. More often than not, when they're guilty, they often plead guilty, and they avoid a trial. So yeah, I've definitely had that experience.
What's it like working with them?
I think it's okay. I mean, I think the way that that lawyers who do criminal law, and there's certainly lawyers who do more criminal law than I do now, I think basically what guides them and what kind of makes them feel comfortable with the whole thing is that they're performing a duty from the perspective that we have a rule of law and there's a system in place, and part of that system is that